Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transit known as the solar eclipse in Libra, the new moon eclipse. Now, before I do any type of breakdown, I just want to let everybody know that if you are going into this energy feeling it the way that I have anticipated and the way that I'm feeling it for a lot of you, and you are needing help with cord cuttings this week, if you book a session with me, we will also include rounds of cord cuttings. I don't want to put like a certain price or anything on that. It's not that type of situation, but everybody's different. Sometimes you have to be able to do things with families. What do you have to do things in a much bigger sense than just two individuals. And a lot of times if you don't know what you're doing with that, you need help doing that. And I put a little poll question thing on Facebook the other day of like how many people are going into this eclipse looking for cord cuttings, because I already had a list of the people that needed my help doing them. And that seems to be growing. So I'm putting that out there at the start of this one. If you book a session with me this week, we will also include a cord cutting with your session. And my information, of course, is listed in the description of every single episode. You guys know that. Just message me, DM me, whatever you need to do, email me. Um, and I'll either talk you through it or we'll get something set up to where we can meet and go through it together. Okay. This is a very interesting eclipse because it's the final of the series for the Libra side. And I want to do a quick recap again of what we have felt with each Libra eclipse that has brought us to this point. Now, last year when we had the first eclipse, and that, of course, was back on October 14th of 2023, that one had just followed a Venus retrograde. And if you listen to me that far back, I kept saying, like, this is purge energy. If you were being seen, you were being seen for the wrong reasons. We need to purge, clear the things that are keeping us unbalanced, the things that do not make us happy. Purge. And there was a hyperized purge to last year. And it stuck for months. Part of that was because of Pluto squaring the nodes. Part of that was because of the Venus retrograde. A lot more of that went into that final eclipse. Well, I shouldn't say final. That first eclipse. This is the final. No. That first eclipse. And we had a lot of clearing to do. But it was the first round of clearing. And little by little since then, we've rounded through the energy. We've rounded over the transits. We've gone through what we've gone through. And then we went into the second eclipse. And that was the one and only full moon eclipse in the sign of Libra that we got. And that happened back in March. That was March 25th earlier this year. Now, that eclipse was meant to be an ending, it was meant to be a clearing, but it was also meant to settle certain debts. Now, for some people, that can be a karmic debt. For other people, that can be an actual debt. But it had a wave of clearing in certain connections at that moment. And some people had an immediate effect. Other people, it planted the seeds for things that were going to happen about this time. Now, the thing about that last eclipse is that it was coincided with a Mercury retrograde. Mercury was stationing at the time of that eclipse. So some people went into that clearing not completely sure if they were doing the right thing. And that would make sense because, again, Mercury was stationing. Mercury went through a retrograde. We had the mix up, the hoopla, the shifts and adjustments whenever it came to certain things. And now we're rounding into a much softer, air quotations on softer, but darker, deeper level of clearing, healing, releasing, purging, and letting go. Now, it's not common for me to say we are letting go of a bunch of things in this new moon, but I'm looking at the condition of the host. This is a new moon in Libra. It's Venus's sign. But Venus is in her detriment. Venus is in Scorpio. if you look at the condition of her hosts, the rulers of Scorpio, Pluto is stagnant and stationing and tired of dealing with the past and a power struggle, tired of dealing with all of these old wounds, these old habits, this old structure, this old way of doing things, and is wanting to turn something around, while Mars is going through its fall in Cancer, going through this area of emotions and needing nurturing, needing to take certain actions to heal. This new moon has so much energy that speaks to Phoenix energy. Do we have to go into a pit of fire? Not necessarily. Not to be reborn. But what you do have to go through in many ways is clearing the thing that holds you back. The weight, the depression, the frustration, that relationship. For some people, it is external, that unfinished business situation that we needed to clear out. For other people, it is internal. The secrets, the affairs, the old wounds, the things that go all the way back to your childhood. Things that you didn't realize were still impacting you to this day. But whenever those old memories keep flooding to the surface, you can see them from a whole different perspective. And some of us, we can even remember why we started acting out differently from there. We didn't realize in our childlike brain that that situation, that moment, that timeline triggered a long-term response, because in a lot of ways, it's just become normal. Well, I don't like looking this way. I don't like being this way. I don't like being in this type of situation, because what happened then? And it amplified and became a continuous pattern, a defense mechanism that has now built up so many walls that I didn't even realize were really walls, because it was more of an erosion buildup versus an actual structural build. I need to clear this out. And there is a lot of clearing that is coming through. Some of you, those wounds have to go back to family. They again go back to your childhood. They go back to certain events and certain trauma that we have not easily wanted to look at. But whether you like it or not, the universe is forcing your hand. And one of the things I've been saying for weeks is the level of deep-seated wounds and deep-seated emotions and the deep-seated things that needed to be worked through, brought to the surface, because we have unfinished business that needs to be completed. Old wounds that are still triggering us to this day, and we need to work through them. We need to look at what's necessary to protect the inner child. We need to be the protector that we never had growing up. And many of you are going into this energy feeling the wound that needs to be healed. Now, the thing about this eclipse is it's not just going to be in the moment. It's not just going to happen in the one and done day situation. And you all know that. I talk about this quite frequently. There's no one clear additional transit in the moment. And the human effect is the waves of decisions that will happen around this eclipse will all be at different times. Some of you, you've already had them. I know that because you were in my DMs last night. As soon as something happened, you needed to talk, or I woke up to a slew of messages going, okay, so I had these dreams. I had this situation. I had this thought. I have this idea. I can't believe I had this download. It came into me in meditation. It came to me here. Ah, aha type things. Realizing what we need to work through to be better, to feel better, to move forward. Now, for a lot of people, it's not internal, it is external. It is the other person. It is the relationship. For many of you, it is the karmic contract. And there are some of you that are feeling capable of finally severing ties to people that drain you, that hurt you, people that you know you are not healthy with, therefore you must detach, but you are struggling to detach in some way. The detachment is necessary. Cutting the cord is necessary, but you can't just do the cord cutting, just to be clear, the rituals, and stay in the situation. It doesn't work that way. What you're going to feel is the emotional pull to start making those decisions, but you also have to follow through with the action. And that action later will get tested. Are you making the right decision? Are you doing the right things? Are you living in alignment with the energy, or are you following your ego? There will be tests to the decision that we're making, but there'll be necessary tests. Some of you, the separation will be necessary to teach the other side of lessons. Some of you, that detachment will be necessary to teach you the lesson. Because sometimes we get in our own ways and we are our own worst enemy. But so much of this week has more of an internalized energy of things bubbling to the surface that need to be worked through. And for a lot of people, there is karmic clearing, cleansing, releasing, purging, and healing that is being instigated in the days around this new moon. And for many of you, by the time we get to next week, we will have an immediate turnaround in some way. By leaving some situation behind, it allows for us to take back our power. And that will come through in the transits. For some of you, it will take even longer. Now, for weeks, again, we've had those things triggered and bubbling to the surface, letting us know where we need to make a change, where we need to clear something out, where we need to make adjustments to make the space for where new will come through. And I get a lot of questions a lot of the time, like, when is it going to be good again? I'm going to be honest with you. I've written out all the transits for 2025. There's a good portion of next year that looks amazing. It's like a breath of fresh air. Some of you, I've already told this to you. It's like a breath of fresh air. There's so much new coming. But as a collective, we don't all cut ties at the same time. We have to do it in waves based off how it's impacting our chart, how it unfolds in that human effect. But we have a lot of levels of extra clearing that need to be had, that need to be made. And a lot of that is being initiated and instigated in this energy. And this is the softer side of seers, babies. This is the softer side to make those decisions. If you decide to stay in your rut, the testing energy that comes later, specifically the Mars retrograde, that testing side that comes later, it will be harsher. It will be more volatile, dangerous, infuriating. So when you're feeling the compelling now, you're seeing a window open. You're seeing a side door that you can slip out very easily, energetically speaking, versus staying in a place where there will be frustration and pain later. That's not easy for a lot of people to understand. That's not an easy pill for a lot of people to swallow. I get that. But everything stays connected. Everything moves in a certain way, in a certain flow. And the whole idea for the way that I do this channel and my sessions and everything else is to help people live in that alignment in the decisions that you make. Now, there are a handful that this new moon is a new beginning, but it's like a peaceful new beginning. It's new to your home life. It's new to your family. It's new with your children. There's something new to it. We're changing the environment. We're changing something in the way that we see our future. We see hope. We see promise. We're changing something. And that'll be a good thing. Because if you are doing something like that, that is much more physical, like moving into a new house, then we have the capability of going into something with an element of peace in our mind and in our heart. Now, the other thing about Libra is the exaltation of Saturn. Good old daddy Saturn. Now, Saturn's not playing into this transit, but I do pay attention to Saturn's energy whenever it comes to certain transits. Saturn is the ruler of karma. And there can be the start, and that seems to be usually with younger people around this time, the start of karmic connections and karmic clearing. We have to clear a debt, but to clear that debt, we must fulfill our obligations. Therefore, we could be initiating certain karmic contracts. If you're at the start of that new phase in your family, that new phase in your relationship, that new chapter of your life, because some of you are, for some of you, it's because we're going into something with the idea of peace and hope and calmness. But for other people, you're at the start of a karmic connection where you have obligations to fill. And if it is the start of obligations, this will take years to clear. More than a decade, years to clear. And I want to be clear about that. That doesn't mean you're making a bad decision, but many people can go into something new right now, and it's the start of a new karmic connection. That's not as much of the big envelopment of energy right now, but at the same time, I have seen it. I've seen that mix of both. And the thing is, we can't avoid them. Certain karmic contracts you cannot avoid. You have to fulfill them. They're a part of your life. We just have to know, in some way, know that that's what we're going into. But everybody's in different places and everybody's enjoying different things. So let's be clear about that. Okay. If you have never tuned in to a podcast episode regarding new moons or full moons, I do everything based off of a whole house system. What does that mean? I do not care if your ascendant is at 2 degrees or 22 degrees. The entire sign that your ascendant is in, the entire zodiac sign, is your first house, and every numerical house that follows will be associated with the next zodiac sign. So, with that being said, going into the screen now, we're going to get into Aries and Aries rising. All right, my loves. Oh, we are talking about a new moon eclipse in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships, legal matters. We have new connections coming through tied to other people. Now, your chart ruler, Mars, is in that 4th house of home life, family, roots, ancestry, genetics, mothers, patrons, things that you inherit. But people don't necessarily take the idea that genetics are inherited, but they are. A lot of you are looking at new commitments that are going to impact the home life, that are going to impact the family, that have some level of emotional clearing and emotional wellness, and allowing something new to come through. Why do I say that? Because your chart ruler is in that fourth house of home life, and family. This eclipse is in the seventh house, but the ruler of this eclipse is also in a house that you rule, which is your eighth house. So we could be looking at taking on that new roommate, moving in with our girlfriend, moving in with another person, knowing that we're going to start sharing the financial load in a lot of ways. Some of you are allowing people to move into your house because you're helping them get through bad situations. You're helping them work through their healing. You're helping them overcome certain secrets. Some of you are having to move because something has changed with your partner. We've got a new job opportunity. There's a new direction. There is something new that's going to be here that can be very, very peaceful in the long run, but in the short run might not be as heavy. Well, we're moving because we have to. His job, her job, it's one of those that it can only be done in certain regions. So we have to go. Think of it as the sense of like the military wife. Sometimes you have to go because you have to move to the other base. You have to go to the other place. You don't get a choice. But there is something very, very new that is coming through. And that speaks through with the first three cards that we got. We got the Ace of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Sun card. So the Ace of Cups speaks to happy new beginnings, and even the Sun is located in the Ace of Cups. My cup overflow. Oh, so much abundance. The Six of Cups is very celebratory and things coming together and feeling like happy, happy, joy, joy. We have the Sun card that speaks to the same type of thing. We have things that are coming together, coming to light that have so much energy to them. And for a lot of you, it's been something that you've been waiting on for a while. You've either been waiting on your partner to make a decision. You've been waiting on the job opportunity to come through. You've been waiting on something because you've been feeling so stuck. And now that certain things have lined themselves out, now that certain directions are starting to line themselves out, it's going to make it a lot easier to make certain decisions. So we still have the Hangman, but we go into the next two cards. We have the Star card and we have the Queen of Cups. For us to recognize where we go next, for us to finally have the downloads and the ability to make the choices of where we go next and following the things that are going to speak to our heart, we've been waiting on the other side. We've been waiting to be able to make the decision. Up until this point, like it's been on the forefront of our mind, like, this could be fun. This could be okay. We could move to this state. We can move over here. We could look at this kind of house. We could look at a condo. We could look at this. We could look at that. But it's all been up in the air in some way, shape, or form until something has adjusted. And I feel like for a lot of you, there is an adjustment that starts to set in over the next week and a half. But I want to be clear about something. You are Mars ruled. I am Mars ruled. We have to pay attention to Mars. The decisions that start to come through over the course of the next week and a half, we'll round it out to 2 weeks. We'll just make it an even 2 weeks, are also the areas that we're going to come back to later at the end of the Mars retrograde, because it is the energy of this week that touches on Mars going into shadow, because Mars goes into shadow this week. And if you look at the layers to the potentials of decisions, you can make short-term apartment looking decisions because something will come back around later. I question the idea of like jumping into a house purchase right now, because you can jump into a house purchase, but then literally 6 to 8 months from now, be stuck in a situation to where you have a house that you can't easily sell because you have to relocate or you have to make some other level of adjustment. There can also be growth in the family, disruptive growth. And I'm looking at the sense of like, anytime you have to like change the rooms and everything like that, you're adding a partner's kids to the situation, like moving in and combining households. There's still some kind of disruption, pivotal or chaotic, If you're adding extra kids to your household, more likely a little bit of both. That's necessary at this time. And there will be layers to the situation, but that doesn't mean you're making a bad decision. The human effect is every decision is going to be different. But understand some of the decisions that you are making around this time, some of the things that are starting to pop up around this time, they can have layers to them. And for a lot of you, it is tied to the other person. It is tied to our obligations. It is tied to a whole other side of the situation. And we will be coming back to this in some way come February. Okay. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Taurus and Taurus risings. Oh, my loves, my loves, my loves. This is a new moon in your sixth house of health. How you care for yourself, how you care for your other people, things in your routine, things in your work, things with your pets, things with your partner's pets, things with your partner's routine, your partner's work. Why do I say it that way? The ruler of this eclipse is Venus, but Venus is also your chart ruler. And Venus is currently located in the seventh house of other people, relationships, legal matters, commitments, lawsuits, shared assets, shared resources. That's going to be a big part of it later. But there's a lot of things tied to the other side. And you need to be very, very careful with your words. You need to be aware of the decisions that you are making and the potential disruption that you are going to be getting into in the long run, especially whenever it comes to siblings. Now, why do I say that? Because Mars is in your third house. That's a short distance travel house. That's a communications house, but that is a siblings house. So there can be a lot of things going on between you and your siblings that can be coming up also that has kind of disrupted the flow, disrupted routine, disrupted some of the situations at hand. And there can be some other things that start to come through right over the course of the next 2 weeks that make you start to adjust some of your plans. Something new is coming together. Moving in with a girlfriend versus staying in your parents' house, moving in with a boyfriend versus having a roommate situation. We have things that are starting to adjust. And I, again, want you guys to be very, very clear about the decision that you are making, because some of you might be going into decisions that are not going to be good for the long term, for the long haul. They're going to get deeply tested as we go deeper into the fourth quarter, specifically again, November, December, and into the first part of next year, because the decisions that we start to make over the course of this next 2 weeks are going to be imprinted into how Mars goes into shadow and where he will be coming back to come springtime. So, with that being said, let's get into your cards. Oh, we have the Tower card. We have the Hermit card. We have the Five of Swords. Now, again, Mars is in your third house of communications, but I know Mars later on will go retrograde in your fourth house of home, home life, and family. Many of you could be having certain arguments and tension, either with people, other people, just in general, or specifically your siblings, if not somebody in your friend group. We've had some tensions and some frustrations, but those frustrations are on both sides. You can be an asshole too. And a lot of times y'all don't like to admit that. You think you're perfect, but that's not the truth. Sometimes y'all is an asshole too, just as much as the other side. So there can be tensions that are very much even. And for a lot of you, it can be stuff that is kind of sitting below the surface. And even though in the moment you might be quiet and calm and not sharing a lot of things, that doesn't mean that the tensions won't come through later. And a lot of you are going into things that are going to deeply impact your home life and your family. It's not in the moment, but we have something shifting in routine that can have a tower moment later. For some of you, that's a few weeks. For others, that's going to be a few months. Now, Why do I get stuck on the Tower moment and going that far out? One, Mars is retrograde. Two, the Tower is the only card in the deck that truly completely represents a structure. Mars is going to go retrograde in your fourth house of home. So you can be making very key decisions with certain people right now that is going to create disruption in the household later. And the Hermit card speaks to that. It's like waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to adjust, waiting for something to change. Now, some of you have no choice. You have to do this. Financially, there's no other aspect to it. It's the only thing that makes sense. And the reason I'm speaking to the financial aspect is the fact that Jupiter over the next week will go retrograde in your second house of money, but Jupiter rules your eighth house. So for a lot of you, the things that are starting to come through for you to get your finances in order, it's very much depicted on waiting for another person to do their half, make their decisions, carry their weight, do their thing, have something change on their side. The focus is the other side, whether that's family, whether that's your actual partner. There's a lot of things that are meant to come together with the Three of Cups, but we have to stay focused on the things that we are going to be able to be in charge of. We got to stay focused on the things that we have the most control, that we can gain benefit from versus what we're losing. If you are moving in with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, that significant other in that regard, you're not going to have as much privacy as you would a roommate situation where it's like, this is my room, that's your room, stay, on opposite sides of the house. The sacrifice is the level of privacy, but the gain is a more solid support, hopefully, if you guys are choosing right, is a more solid support to share things with. So there's a give and take to everything. And given we have this Queen of Cups energy on top of that, you guys are in charge of these decisions just as much as the other side. But I know your focus more right now is the other side. It is the partner. It is who we're making commitments with and how that's going to then shift and adjust within that routine. Now, after these shifts and adjustments come, more of your focus as we get into later parts of the year will start to round back into getting things going in career the way that we want, getting our goals in place the way that we want. And that will become the bigger part of the long-term plan. But in the short term, there's some environment change that are coming first that you're going to have to remember the gains more so than what you're losing. And that's going to be the main thing that you have to wrap your head around. I'm doing this to make more money. I'm doing this for the security. Don't get stuck on what you've lost. Stay focused on the gains. Okay. Moving along. Oh, my loves, Geminis and Gemini risings. I like this eclipse for you guys. I like it a lot. Oh, the reason I like it so much is I look at what's going on in the chart for you all. One, this is an eclipse in your fifth house. Love, luck, joy, romance, happiness, children, the things that are going to make us happy, the things that speak to our inner child, those things that bring out that lovey-dovey romantic energy can be so big right here. Now, why do I say that? Not only is this an eclipse in your fifth house, but we're also looking at the fact that Jupiter, the ruler of your seventh house of relationships and partnerships and legal matters, he's in your first house. For a lot of you, there are gains to be had in this particular eclipse, especially whenever it comes to romantic situations. Now, that for some of you is going to be very, very overwhelming. It's going to trigger all those old wounds and old securities and be like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure. The thing is, don't rush into situations if you're feeling unsure. Take your time, but use your chart ruler to your advantage and use your words. Talk about it. Explain it. be clear. Hey, I love where this is going, and I love being connected to you, and I love talking to you, but I'm also scared to death of what this means and how this is going to go. And I'd like to take things slow. Hey, Gemini, you can take things slow, okay? I know your chart ruler is super fast and he likes to go through all the signs like that, but you can take things slow. Because if you don't take things slow, when we get into parts of November and December, you're going to be very, very frustrated. So again, take things slow. Both sides should do this. Both sides should want this. That allows for healthy connections to be built. Now, for some of you, this isn't about kids at all. This has to do with, this isn't about love at all. This has to do with your children. Something new going on with or around children. For some of you, it even has to do with work, especially if you are in teaching. Be aware of the energy and what can be coming up new around them, especially the ones that really adjust and make a new focus happen within your routine. You need to be aware of just how important those decisions are in this area. And remember, right before this eclipse, we had a Mercury cazimi in Libra. So for a lot of you, there was an idea, there was something that came to light, there was something that came to the surface, there was some type of opportunity. For some of you, even the internalized download situations just before this eclipse happened, because that Mercury cazimi was Monday, but it was felt like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We had the downloads during that time frame. That's immediately resulting in a lot of the elements of this eclipse. And I haven't brought up the Mercury cazimi with everybody, but I am with you guys because Mercury is your chart ruler. So for a lot of you, there was something that came through just in the last few days, even if it was internally came through, that is making you aware of where this change or adjustment is going to be. But we got to go slow. Slow. Slow, slow, slow. Ooh, I got to say this to you guys. As a Gemini sun and Mercury to a Gemini rising, slow. Knight of Coins. The thing about the Knight of Coins is he does not go quick like rabbit. He is slow like turtle because he wants to be sure. He wants to be solid. He wants to feel like everything is going to go the right way. Slow. I'm going to keep having to say that to you guys. Because if we don't do the right things, we're going to be getting stuck in this element of overwhelm and frustration and the potential of bringing back old toxic patterns. Oh, the thing about people that are super strong with their mercurial energy is they know how to work the system very quickly. We know how to manipulate another person. We just got to say things just the right way. We can twist it, we can turn it, we can just go and turn that dial a little bit. And the other side very rarely recognizes that pattern in the mercurial people. But the thing is, your silver tongue can create issues. So again, we need to go slow and respect that you have to wait sometimes. Now, sometimes the hangman means we're feeling stuck. But a lot of times we're feeling stuck in an area where we have a lot of control. But with this Seven of Cups energy, there can be a lot of overwhelm, whether that's overwhelm around kids, overwhelm within relationship. There can be a lot of overwhelm in the energy, and getting something just because you're being impatient won't actually help the situation. So trust me, long game energy, go slow. Okay, your last two cards. We have the Four of Coin and we have the Eight of Coin. The Four of Coin means we have to keep certain things close to our chest. Sometimes you can keep things too much close to your chest, but not really. The thing about mercurial people is you tend to be very selective and you let a lot of people in. And there is a lot of work to be done. If you stay focused on the work, if you stay focused on the purpose, you stay focused on your long game energy, then whenever it comes to that other side of things, things will go well. When it comes to relationships, trust me when I say, go slow. You need to go slow. It is in your benefit to go slow. Okay. Okay. Moving this along. We're going to get to Cancers and Cancer risings. Oh, my loves. This is a new moon eclipse in your fourth house of home, life, and family. But I am looking at Mars in your first house. And I know for a fact, because for some of you, I've dealt with you personally, that Mars in your first house is really making you restless. It's really making you agitated. It's making you rather bitchy. It's making it to where you can't sit still anymore. Now, let's be clear about this. Mars rules your fifth house of love, luck, joy, romance, happiness, and children. But Mars also rules your 10th house of career. And if there is one sign in particular that I have been laser locked on over the course of this particular nodal eclipse axis, it's been y'all, because it's crazy. It's been a very crazy energy. For some of you, you have a lot of things going on in career, and then it feels like all the responsibilities are falling onto you. And if that's been the case, I've been warning you that for a long time. And mentally, you should have had some preparation by now. However, some of you, you just know that you're in preparation mode. You know you're in hyperdrive. You know you got a lot going on. Flip that around. This is an eclipse in your fourth house of home, life, and family, while Venus, the ruler of the eclipse, is in the other Mars-ruled sign. Mars is in your first. Some of you are having to make decisions that are going to impact the home life. They are going to impact the family. They are going to mean changes for your children, changes in your love life, because a lot of you still have your final lessons of Pluto in the seventh that are starting to play out. And you're questioning whether the home life is what it needs to be. Some of you are going to be having to make choices to make changes because of your career. There's a new path unfolding. For a lot of Cancer risings, there's a new path. There is new opportunity. There is new things unfolding based off, one, your own decisions, and two, what is going on around you. So there is a lot of new in the energy. So let's talk about this first. We have this Ace of Wands. We have the, if I can get it to slide loose, they start stacking. And the High Priestess. The other card that we have next is this Four of Swords energy. So we have new ideas, we have a new path, we have new energy, we have a new journey, we have a new torch being lit. But the High Priestess, this is a lot of the internal energy. We have those downloads that are coming through. You are feeling magnetically and energetically pulled to change something right now, whether it is changing things in the career or changing things in the home life. You guys are in this energy, and it's very split with Cancer rising. Some of you, it is all career stuff. And the thing that you're changing with your home life is, I'm moving across the country so I can have my dream job. Cool. Do your thing. That makes a lot of sense in this energy. For other people, though, it is the weight of the world at work is forcing some type of frustration in the home life, in the household, and some type of tension. For more of you, it is the final lessons tied to the other side, tied to that relationship, tied to some type of obligation, whatever Pluto in the seventh has been for you guys, letting you know where you need to make a change. And that puts us at this Four of Swords energy. Many of you are preparing, and that means not just preparing you, but preparing the people around you, whether that's training a new team or talking to your support system that, hey, I'm going to move out. Hey, I'm leaving him this time. Hey, I'm going to go in this direction. Hey, we as a collective, because again, we train certain people, are going in this direction. But a lot of the focus is making sure certain things in your surroundings are set up in this eclipse. People that love you. You're about to make certain moves. People that believe in you and follow you, again, because you're about to make certain moves. But I feel like for a lot of you, we have to very much be aware of environment and surroundings before we can make the big decision. That big decision is coming soon. And I do mean soon. So we have the Judgment card, and then we have the Nine of Cups. Now, the thing about the Nine of Cups is the key term that I always use for this one is it's better to be lucky than smart. Some of you are about to have a luck situation fall into your lap, and it's going to help you make the hard decision with that Judgment card. And I would be very key to understand that some of the decisions that might start to come through energetically in this eclipse might not fully play out until later this month or even the 1st of November, when Mars in your first hits the opposition to Pluto. And that will be the first in the series of 3. It's very important to know that many of you are on course to make a very supercharged, frustrating decision that will play out later this month, potentially more likely the first week of November, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, that time frame, specifically the 3rd, because that is when Pluto opposite Mars will go the most exact. Be aware of the downloads that you're having. Be aware of what's going on in your surroundings. Being aware of what's going on in your workplace, because a lot of the shifts and changes that are going on in your surroundings, 3 of Wands, it's not your decision per se. Mars in your first is forcing you to make certain decisions, certain judgment calls. But given the impression that I'm feeling in this energy is you are making decisions, but not active in the moment. Key players, key movement, key plans. And whether that plan is initiated over the course of the weekend, or that plan is initiated over the course of the next month, whatever, in the exact moment feels like something new that's impacting the home life, relieving us, releasing us in one area, but the bigger picture is what we're more tuned into. This is just the place I put my head because I have a bigger focus. So even for a lot of you, it can be a temporary. I'm moving into an apartment. I'm moving into this one place temporarily, knowing that once you're more established, once you're more financially secure, once you're closer to another area, then you will make bigger decisions. But right now it feels like a little bit of chess. Okay. Okay. So let's do this now. We're going to get to Leos and Leo risings. Oh, my loves. Now, this is an eclipse in your 3rd house. Short distance travel, communication, siblings, things going on with your siblings, discussions going on with your siblings. Considering Venus, the ruler of your 3rd house, is also in your 4th house of home life, and family. We could be talking about how we are going to be handling things in the family moving forward between us and a sibling. Super easy. Making plans with your sisters, making plans with your brothers, making some kind of travel plan. Now, the 3rd house is a short distance travel house. We could be wanting to do a weekend getaway, but that weekend getaway would be with a loved one, potentially with a family member. Some of you might be looking at making plans to move in with family. Some of you might be allowing a family member to move in with you. Some of you might be traveling for a family vacation. We don't usually have the vacation things more in this October timeframe, but that final little bit of summertime where you can get it might be worth it. But I feel like there can be a lot of planning and preparation. Now, the focus is making sure our home life is set, that we are in control of certain things, that our kids are feeling well loved and taken care of, that our home is feeling exactly like that, like a home. And you guys are in the process of dealing with certain things in that. On the flip side, you have Mars going through your 12th house, the unknown, the unseen, and endings. There can be a lot of insecurities that keep getting brought to the surface, a lot of old wounds and old triggers that can also go back to your childhood, can go back to family, and you can be having discussions with your siblings, with your friends, with people that are around you about those old wounds, those old memories, those old triggers that have been bubbling up to the surface, telling people certain truths that they were not aware of. You having to process certain things that you didn't realize was still impacting you because you haven't processed them, you haven't worked through them, you haven't let them go. Letting them go, working through them, getting through the muck, getting through the situation, working through what is energetically holding you back in many ways, like holding you back, is going to allow for so much larger ascension with the way that you connect with other people once we get into the other energies that will start to play out, especially when we get into next year. Can some of them start to play out sooner than next year? Absolutely. Pluto's going to go back into Aquarius in November, and then in December, like Venus will accompany Pluto in your 7th house. So there can be stuff still this year, but I am more focused on, so much of the energy is focused on where we will have new things come next year. Now, let's get into this. Given we have this moon card and we have this Knight of Swords, the moon rules Cancer. Mars is in Cancer. We have a lot of old wounds, old situations, old triggers, things that we know we need to process and release, purge, and let go of, so we can finally reach a different level. There's shadow things that keep coming through that if we would just learn to trust our energy, trust the other side, trust the other people, then we can find other people that's far more accepting of our truth than we initially realized. Now, there is one lesson that still stands the test of time with you guys, and that is from May of this year until June of next year, you guys are still in your lessons of understanding the difference between friends and lovers, because Jupiter, the 5th house ruler of love, luck, joy, romance, happiness, and children, is still going through your 11th house of friends. Sometimes the people you have to trust is not a lover, it is a friend. But opening up and trusting that person is still something that can help you heal. Heal. We have the Strength card, we have this 4 of coins, and we have the Empress card. So you can see this here. For you to be able to recover your strength, and by the way, if that's not a depiction of overcoming everything, we have the sun, we have the lion, we have the man wrestling with the lion. If we can finally overcome the things that we have been struggling with, the things that have been holding us back with this Strength card, the preparation of what we can ascend to, how we will feel, how we will be seen, the level of internalized healing hitting its extra level speaks volumes to the long term. Now, over the course of the rest of this month, you will have those old wounds and those insecurities trigger. You will have old habits that you need to break because trigger. And you'll recognize, like, oh, I don't know why I want to respond that way. That's not even healthy. I know that's not healthy. You get here, I still want to do it. I felt called to do this, even though that's not even what I would want to do. Like it's weird because it's like that gut check reaction that we're trying to break. And by the time we get to the 1st of November, Mars is going to come into your first, and you guys are going to feel a lot more energized and a lot more capable and a lot more proud. The thing about when Mars does come into your first, and this is a month away, but I'm telling you now, there's a reason for the insecurities. It's preparing you for where you can start to pick back up on your energy. But whenever you start to get picked back up on your energy, once Mars comes into your first, that will only be short lived because Mars will go retrograde and go back into Cancer. The insecurities that start to come through now will have layers to them later. Whether this has to do with your family, whether this has to do with your career, whether this has to do with relationships, whatever the insecurity is, that thing that keeps bubbling to the surface that we haven't fully let go of, that's going to get tested later. And we want to make sure that whenever we're in that phase of things, that we're making the right calls and the right decisions. There's a lot of this energy that speaks to test, especially for Leo risings that we're moving into. But first, we have to work through the waves of insecurity, the emotions that are coming to the surface, so we can, again, get recentered on our own personal strength and our own personal gains later. Okay. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Virgos and Virgo risings. Oh, my loves, my loves, my loves. This is a new moon in your second house of money, your stuff, your assets, the way that you make money, the way that you spend money, values, valuables. What do you value? Who do you value? Do you feel valued? If you don't feel valued, especially in the workplace, then there can be some changes in career over the course of the next few weeks. Why do I say that? This is an eclipse in your second house of money, and Jupiter over the next week and a half is going to station retrograde in your 10th house of career. Now, it all depends on how other people are treating you and how other people are acting in certain situations. And if they keep bringing up insecurities, if you keep recognizing a toxic pattern in another person in other situations, if you keep seeing things are going weird for your clients and weird for your friends, you can be friends with coworkers. If you start seeing certain things there, it might make you realize you want to look for a different opportunity, a different situation. You might be forced to make certain decisions that you don't want to make just yet. There is a lot of overwhelm in your cards. There's a lot of weight in your card. There's a lot of hermit energy, because you literally have the hermit card. I'll show you here in a second. That is coming through. And for some of you, that means we have to, again, look at the opportunities where we can feel valued. Now, whether that opportunity is going to be a financial opportunity or a career opportunity or a potential shift in partnership, obligation, and relationship, there's something coming through that speaks to an adjustment here. And again, there is a lot of overwhelm in the cards. We have the 7 of Cups, we have this 8 of Swords, and we have the 4 of Cups. Oh, certain things might not work out the way that you've been wanting them to whenever it comes to certain deals, contracts, certain things that you've been trying to put together at work. That's not a you problem, that's an energy problem. But considering you keep putting so much effort into the work that you're doing, you're going to feel like it's your fault. You're going to feel like you still made decisions. You're going to feel like you should be beating your head against the wall with that 8 of Swords. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you have to accept that certain things are not meant for you. They're not meant to happen this way. And you can mourn. I'm still with the same cards, by the way, with the 4 of Cups. You can mourn that missed opportunity or you can look for something else to come through. I don't feel like you guys are going to be immediately looking for something else to come through. I don't. Some of you will. You'll have an immediate change and you're going to go straight into a new job, and that new path will be great. And that's wonderful. We'll come back to that here in a second. But others, I feel like there's so much going on with that seventh house of relationships and everything Saturn's doing over there. And the fact that Jupiter rules your seventh house and is moving in, is about to turn retrograde in your 10th house of career, public image, goals for the future. For a lot of you, the new opportunity is going to be based off of what's changing from that other side. And again, some of you are having to break certain karmic toxic connections with this devil card, or you're in wait. I told you that hermit card was going to come through. You've been waiting, or you will be waiting to finally make this separation happen. The most mundane sense is we can make a purchase. The most mundane part of this transit is we can have some type of pay raise or something changing at the workplace, good or bad, that allows for certain connections with other people to kind of shift moving forward from here. You're changing accounts, you're going in a different direction, you're meeting with a new slew of clients. Again, we do have new opportunity that can come through with the Ace of Wands, but I think it's a mixed bag of new. And some of you might be seeing this as an opportunity to finally exceed and excel and grow. But I think there's going to be too many tests before you get to see the full potential of growth. And in fact, for many of you, you might not see the full potential of growth until springtime. But be aware of the opportunities that could be coming through right here, because they can very much be a double-edged sword for a lot of you. And there are times that we can be in certain things with our career in our workplace where it's like they put you in a position that will either make you or break you. And I feel like for some of you, that's exactly what you're going into, is you're going into a position that's either going to make you or break you. Some of you, you might be seeing that within the people around you, that they're moving into certain positions that are either going to make you or break you, or make them or break them. But there is an adjustment that I feel like for a lot of you that's very environmental with Mars in the 11th, that's changing the way that you're connecting with people and clients and patients or whatever you work through. There's a change in the surroundings. And not all of those changes are going to work out well in the long run. But for you to be able to make it through to see to that point, you are going to have to be this hermit card. You are going to have to not let things bother you. You are going to have to let things lie for just a little bit to see how other people do certain things. Don't take the weight of every decision and every responsibility onto yourself. Sometimes you're going to have to just sit still in the moment to process what's going on. And for a lot of you, that's going to be very, very hard, because sitting still is not your forte. I get it. But sometimes you're going to have to play the long game. Okay. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Libras and Libra risings. Oh, my loves. This is a new moon eclipse in your first house. It's a new you, new identity, new mindset, new person, new individual. There's something new around you, surrounding you. But here's the thing about that new. For some of you, that new has been your own undoing. That new version of you that's coming through is now single instead of being committed. It's now, self-employed versus working for the man. You are now being seen as a new version of yourself. Some of you, that's great. You've cut certain ties. You've allowed new things to come through, and that new energy is just new confidence. especially sexual confidence. Why do I say that? Because Venus is in Scorpio. And even though Scorpio is your second house of money, Scorpio can be a very empowered and sexual energy. Now, we've had some unfinished business that has been on the horizon. And for many of you, that unfinished business has to do with family. Now, why do I say that? I'm not going to talk about this heavily with every single sign, but for you guys, I am going to talk about this a little bit more heavily. And that is Pluto and Capricorn. Whenever the nodes first changed signs last year, Pluto was squaring those nodes for weeks. Most of July and the first half of August, it was the nodes at 29, 28, and 27 degrees squaring little old Pluto at 29, 28, and 27 degrees of Capricorn. For a lot of you, there's been a long game energy of shifts and adjustments that are going to impact the family, the home life, the household. Mothers, matrons, genetics. These are all themes that can come through. Some of you, you've had a lot of changes that have been revealed in the last few weeks that has shown you exactly where those changes were. You planted seeds a long time ago, and now those changes have come through. Yes, they have been an undoing, but they have been an undoing that you have chose. They have been a release, a purging, a clearing, a healing that you have chose. Because again, you were handling your own undoing in many, many ways. Now we have the ability to allow new things to come through, but those new things are going to be tested. There's weights to them. There is weights to the new you. Now, for some of you, you've had to break certain toxic patterns, certain levels of fear. Some of you are going to be triggered by a new kind of fear coming through because this is a new moon eclipse in your first house, but Venus is in her detriment, which is your second house of money. And we can have some immediate short-term fears that come through in the energy. They don't have to be there. That can just be that level of insecurity, like, oh my God, we're going to have to get a bigger house. Oh my God, we're going to have to make this change. We're going to have to make this adjustment. Grandma's moving in. We're making some kind of an adjustment. And there can be immediate triggers of fear just as much as there can be immediate triggers of shock. This is short-term energy. Many of you are moving into a situation where you can let certain betrayals of the past move away. Some of you are having to deal with your own levels of betrayal. And those things can still come through to haunt you if this applies to you over the course of the next few months, because Mars is in your 10th house of career. Mars is going to be shaking up the way that you see your future, the way that you see the goals, the way that you see certain things moving forward. Mars is shaking this area up. But that doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in that. Many of you are trying to heal from those old situations, from that old masculine energy, and you're trying to allow for something new to come through. And for some of you, you've literally had to get another person involved to be able to stir that energy. You've needed that emotional support. You've needed that person that understands their confidence and their strength, and they have enabled you to take on that new sense of pride, that new sense of worth, that new sense in the energy. This has been a very enabling type of energy. He's looking up at her, especially with the way that I'm holding the cards. I know that he's looking up at her and how elevated she is becoming. For many of you, there is an elevation because, again, you have created your own undoing because you needed to let go of the old wounds, the old triggers, the past, that frustration, and the new you needed to come through just this way, blazing a path and looking at success and achievement. Now, the thing about that King of Cups looking at the Queen of Wands is there's give and take to everything. With the Six of Coins, you can see that. There's give and take for everything. As much as he has given you to be able to move forward, you have had to reciprocate in a way that is even keeled for everybody. And by seeing someone that can reciprocate, by being supported by people that will also do the right things with you, for you, to help you, you're able to give in return. You're seeing something more balanced that you haven't seen in a long time. And again, there is a new balance coming through within you. Now we have this Nine of Coins energy. I always call the Nine of Coins a boss bitch card. This is a woman who has planted her own seeds, harvested her own crop, sold her crop, and made her own money. This is a boss bitch card. I don't need anyone but me. Many of you are starting to see that you are capable of something despite other people. Are they nice to have? Absolutely. But can you do better for yourself moving forward? Absolutely. You need to let go of those old wounds, the old triggers, the old situations, to allow for certain things to be achieved with this Nine of Coins energy. Many of you are getting into a very pivotal path that you have created for yourself. You have rid yourself of those old situations, that old environment. You've rid yourself of so much, and it is allowing for that new version of you to come through, that driven, motivated, capable, sexual, empowered version of you to come through and create that story, create that wealth, create that possibility that no one else could do for you. You had to do it on your own. There is direction coming through, but at first, before the full elements of the direction, there is the recognition of the new you. And for some of you, that means separating and letting go, going through levels of heartache. But that heartache is temporary because the possibilities are so much greater. We have to let go of fear and recognize that new version of you. Accept that new version of you. Allow that level of empowerment to start to come through. Might not be immediate, especially if you just went through a breakup. But that level of empowerment is real and it is there. And for many of you, it's making a change, a final chapter of change for you, either in career, because Mars is in your 10th, or within the home, within the family, because we have that final unfinished business of Pluto in the 4th house of home life, and family. Okay, moving along. Moving along. Oh, my loves, my loves, my loves. We're going to get to Scorpios and Scorpio risings. Hi, babies. How are you? How are you feeling? What are you ready to purge? What are you wanting to let go of? What has the universe been pushing your buttons with, saying, hey, it's time to end this. It's time to release this. It's time to let go of this. It's time to move away from this. Move away. It's a very interesting term right there. Now, for Scorpio risings, your chart rulers, plural, are in your travel houses. Mars is in your 9th house. Pluto is in your 3rd. This is an eclipse in your 12th house. Escape, travel, travel. Move, move, move. Shift, shift, shift. A lot of shifts. A lot of learning. A lot of changes in the way that we think about certain things coming through in this energy. And some of you are about to have to make some very hard decisions about leaving something behind. Now, this is an eclipse in the 12th house, the unknown, the unseen, healings, blindsiding, things that are going on behind your back. There can be things that can come through that just break your heart in this moment. But for a lot of us, because I'm a Scorpio rising too, guys. But for a lot of us, we're making the decisions to leave something behind, to go in a different direction, to move in a new direction. Venus, the ruler of this eclipse, is in Scorpio. It's in the first house. We are making the decisions to cut it out, cut it off, heal the wound. We are making the decisions. Can there be some blindsiding? Absolutely. It's still a 12th house eclipse. But for a lot more, it is our own decisions of finally letting go of the past, of releasing us from certain karmic connections, of releasing ourselves from certain things that are holding us back, so that way we can make space for something better to come along later. We have to break those toxic patterns and realize that the possibility of the new that can come through can be far more stabilizing. Now, I want to say something to Scorpio risings right now about cord cuttings. I said some of this in the intro. I'm going to say this now. Whenever it comes to those cord cuttings, again, I did kind of say this in the intro though. You are making the decision to cut something off, to leave something behind, to break away from something. Especially whenever it comes to toxic behaviors and toxic patterns. I got this devil card now. But I'm going to say this again. I did say this in intro. I'm going to say this again. You can't just do a cord cutting and stay in the same room as the person you're trying to do a cord cutting from. They have to be gone. You have to move. Something has to change. With the chart rulers being in the travel houses, and this is being a 12th house eclipse, many of you are given an opportunity to escape this, to walk away from those things that have held us back, to focus on something far more challenging, yes, but far more capable, far better, far more possible energy than what we are losing by leaving something behind. And the thing is, it's time, Wheel of Fortune, in so many ways, to make the active decision to cut them off, to cut them out, to move away, and to do something different. Who that is different for everybody. For some of you, it's family. For some of you, it's old relationships. For some of you, it's something even further back. For some of you, it is finally making the decision to heal from the past that has held us back and focus again on something new. By healing those old wounds, it allows for us to finally accept something that is not going to be toxic, that is not going to demean us or make us feel belittled. It is going to allow for a whole different level of opportunity and stability. It takes me to the next three cards. We have the Ace of Cups, the Four of Wands, and we have the Lover's card. Now, here is the deal. By releasing the old connections, the old commitments, the old things, creates a different opportunity. And we got to remember, Pluto, once he goes back into Aquarius, that's where he's going to be for 20 years. 20 years. Altogether, the cycle itself lasts for like 22 years, but he's about to go back in there. And that's where he's going to be for a long ass time. Pluto is one of our chart rulers. Going into Aquarius, where Pluto is exalted, he does well in Aquarius. But for the Scorpio risings, this is going to be the start of a new cycle in home, in family, becoming the different matrons of our family. And for us to excel and exceed and grow, create that new level of stability that we crave, Ace of Cups, Four of Wands, for us to achieve it and gain the connections and partnerships we desire, we have to let go of the past that is holding us back. Making a decision to stay in bad situations is committing to the insanity. You're committing to this. If you don't cut the cord, both energetically and physically. With Venus in the first, the decision is yours to make. And if you wanted to be able to get a clean slate and energetically feel well enough to have the clean slate, now is the time to make certain cuts, to heal from the past and the wounds that have held us back, because it is time. I'm still with the same cards. The capabilities and the possibilities of what the next few years are going to look like for Scorpio risings is incredible. But for us to have the family, for us to have the relationship, for us to have that thing, that picturesque thing of what we're wanting, we have to commit to the disconnect, to not allowing our pain, our wounds, our triggers to hold us back anymore. We, with Venus in the first, have to cut it out and cut it off. We have to commit to healing. We have to commit to ourselves. Okay. Okay. Moving it along. We're going to get to Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings. Oh, my loves, this is a new moon eclipse in your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues and people you decide to spend your time with. What's interesting about this is your chart ruler. Since late May, is your chart ruler has been in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships and legal matters. Some of you are going to finally make a decision to change something in your friendship. You're going to make a decision to change something in a connection, in an obligation. And that's going to allow for a whole new energy to take foot. Some of you have already been in a new relationship, but you haven't told anybody yet. It's been like a little secret. And then we're going to get into this eclipse and we're going to finally be like, so I met somebody. You what? Yeah. I wasn't looking for it. It kind of happened really fast. But yeah, I've been seeing somebody since, the summertime. The summertime? What do you mean it happened fast? It was the summertime. I was busy. Things were going on. I had to get other things off my plate so that way I could feel more stable in this. But something is changing. Now, for some of you, there is a cutoff coming through. And you're going to have to cut off certain connections with other people and certain commitments with other people because it's starting to impact your business. It's impacting your home life. There is an adjustment, whether positive or negative, that is coming through that affects how you connect with other people. It is going to alter the way that you see them with Jupiter in the 7th. And it could even potentially impact the way that we are dealing with things in the household. Now, why do I say that? Because Jupiter also rules your 4th house of home life, and family. Some of you are going to be making certain cuts, the decisions to make certain cuts with this 2 of Swords and the 10 of Wands, because we can no longer carry the burden. By no longer carrying and committing to certain burdens, it now welcomes for a whole different level of opportunity. There are some cuts being made, cuts to certain commitments, cuts to certain families, cuts in certain relationships that need to be had. There's a decision, first and foremost, there's a decision that has to be made. And for some of you, that means cutting off these things that are giving us burden. However, sometimes it's not about burden. I'm sticking with this 2 of Swords for just a minute. And some of you have to cut off certain people because they can't tell the truth. And you're going to have to do that level of accountability holding. And as soon as you hold them accountable, they can't handle it anymore. And that, again, is going to allow for cuts in certain relationships. Okay, we're moving that along. However, some of you have to tell your friends that you met somebody and you've done something different and a whole different level of things have been coming through. It's that 2 of Swords has not went away. We just added the Chariot and the Fool card. And you're going to be like, yeah, so she called or we met on a dating app, or we did whatever, and it just kind of all fell into place, and all of a sudden I was in a relationship I didn't even know I was in. Chariot and the Fool card. Your last card is the Four of Wands. We want stability. A lot of us are being pulled and called to make certain decisions that are going to result in stability. They're going to impact the things that make us feel stable. Now, for some of you, we have healing that's going to be necessary before we can do full levels of commitment. But that doesn't mean that the commitments that you're feeling, the relationships that you're leaning into, are not exciting, that they're not a good thing for you. But they can also bring out those insecurities. And you can be telling your friends exactly that. Yeah, I met them. Wasn't planned. I'm super excited about it, but it also scares the ever living shit out of me. And that is okay to say to the right people. And some of you, that can be the exact conversation that you start to have. This other thing has started. It wasn't planned. It wasn't initially what I thought it was going to be. And it scares the living shit out of me because I like it so much. Don't be surprised by insecurities. Be more prepared and more open with the people that you surround yourself with. And know that you have commitment changes that are happening. And then there's also the one extra thing about Pluto and his unfinished business in your second house of money, is that certain fears tied to money are about to adjust. They're about to change over the course of the next few months. Opportunities can come through that can make certain power struggles, whenever it has came to money, finally fall to the wayside. And the new opportunities that can be coming through can be new ways that you're connecting to your clients, that you're making commitments, that you're making obligations, that finally allow for those fears around money to fall to the wayside. Because we'll be wrapping up Pluto in Capricorn for you all. And there'll be a whole different level of strength that comes through, especially strength that you can speak about, that will start to come through after all this energy is said and done. It's going to be a very interesting 6 months, guys. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Capricorns and Capricorn risings. Hello, my loves. Oh my goodness. Now let's see. This is a new moon eclipse in your 10th house of career, public image, your goals for the future. What has been changing in your goals? What has been changing that is impacting you in a very public way? New things in career are a possibility. New potentials in partnership with Mars in your 7th. For some of you, there has also been big changes in the home life, in the family. Changes that have brought out old insecurities all around you again, with Pluto in the 1st. You've had changes in the workplace that have brought out old insecurities that are testing you. Since Pluto has went back into Capricorn, I know you all have felt the weight and the pressure and the depression and the frustration and all the tensions that come with that energy. The good news is this is the last time, and it is very, very short-lived. And these are final lessons and final tests to see if you have understood what is necessary to heal. And over the next 2 weeks, especially the next 2 weeks, there will be something that can start to turn around to where you don't feel the weight of the world on you all at once. In fact, you will be able to finally be able to move ahead, knowing that everything that you work towards next is going to be better than where you have been since 2008. Since 2008. Oh, 2007, 2008, that's when Pluto started to come into Capricorn. And it has been highs and lows for all of you. Sometimes you felt every bit of trauma and abuse and pressure and everything that Pluto has been in the negative side. And other times you have felt all of the power and all of the strength and all of the capability. And now we're wrapping something up. This final test of Pluto in your first is doing a course correction for you and putting you into a different site. It's putting you into a different momentum. And that has meant that over the course of either last month or in the days around this eclipse, for a lot of you, you've had a tower moment. You've had some type of loss. You've had some type of heartbreak. You've had some type of break in the system, something that triggered you back to the insecurity of Pluto in the first. Some of you, it happened right at that last part of August. For others, it happened in September. For some of you, it's happening right now. But we've had the final rounds of tests of insecurity to shake you to your core. Can you recognize the strength that you had when Pluto was in Aquarius? Did you recognize that difference within yourself for that 6-7 months? Did you recognize how much better you felt? Or did it not click until Pluto moved back into the first? Like, oh my God, I did feel better. I did feel like I could do more things, that I could take steps out. I did feel strength that I'm not feeling now. Because again, we've had something recently that has shaken us with this Tower card. Over the next 2 weeks, we can have 2 weeks. I'm going to round it out to 2 weeks, but really this is going on the 11th. Between now and the 11th, Pluto is going to turn direct. There is meant to be something over the next 2 weeks that helps with the turnaround, that helps with the clarity, with the possibilities, with the capabilities. Something new is being revealed in this time that is going to finally allow for you to, one, take the weight of the world off of your shoulders. We'll come back to that card here in a minute, but finally start to move into a new direction that is better than where you have been. Our cup runneth over. It spills over. There's light and possibilities. The Six of Swords is an energy about moving away from the damage, the pain. And it doesn't matter where I go. It's got to be better than where I've been. And so many of you are moving in a direction of where things can be better. But that means we have to recognize those final triggers of that Tower card, of what Pluto in the first has been doing for you. So that way you can accept the new possibilities of what starts to come through. And instead of looking at having the world on your shoulders, it is now seeing that the world is your oyster. That's why I said we would come back to this card. And the way that you connect with certain people, Lover's card, is very much meant to change. Now, your first sets of changes will be tests. The first 6 months of changes will be tests. Between now and springtime, we've got tests. However, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, but we have tests coming. Now, the thing about the Lover's card is everybody looks at the Lover's card and they're like, it's union. But the thing is, not every union is romantic. Not every union is lovers. Not every partnership is a love relationship. We have certain connections and possibilities of things that are going to come together. And there are reasons that we have tests that are going to come through over the next 6 months. And the best thing that I can tell anybody to do over the next 6 months is to practice self-love, to commit to ourselves to be better, and to not let the weight, the frustration, the possibility, and the stupidity of another person impact our self-worth. The next 2 weeks have a turnaround. Now, for some of you, that turnaround will be based off of what's going on with your family, what's going on in your friendship connections. But for some of you, it's going to be based off of the possibilities and the commitment within from another person. And that is Mars in the 7th. The double-edged sword of that, though, is the energy of this week or right after this eclipse includes Mars going into shadow, which means some of the things that we start to commit to in this immediate energy, we will be coming back to in some way in springtime. We will be coming back and we will be undoing it, depending on the test, or we will be coming back And we will be making adjustments because we need the next round, the next level, the next layer of something to happen. Be aware of who you're connecting with, the commitments that are being had, the things in the vibration that are shifting that are allowing for you to pick back up because you need them. But sometimes you need something that'll only come in for a season. They only come in for a reason, and they will only be there for a short term. And if you go into this knowing that the next few people, the next few opportunities, the next few situations potentially can be short term, that means still using certain things to your advantage and planning for things appropriately. Take back your strength. Don't let this continue to weigh you down when this is the end goal. Okay, moving along. Moving along. We're going to get to Aquarius and Aquarius risings. Now, this eclipse for you guys, not in a heavy place. A ninth house eclipse is in a travel eclipse. Your chart rulers are Saturn in your second house of money and Uranus in your fourth house of home life, and family. Some of you might not even notice this eclipse. Others of you, though, might be dealing with something in your health, in work, in your routine. But some of you might also be feeling those twinges of pain in your spine, letting you know something from the past that needs to be dealt with. An insecurity that needs to be dealt with. Something that you are trying to bury versus face. Why do I say that? Pluto. Pluto doing his final round in your 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. Many of you have endings coming. Does it have to be in this eclipse? No. Is it coming? Yes. Now, some of you, that ending is finally letting go of the past, taking back your personal power, not allowing the damage from then to hurt you anymore, to hurt your kids anymore, to hurt your family anymore. But that requires making a decision, especially whenever it comes to the other side. Is there a fair balance of give and take? Are you giving more than you should? Are you having some other type of opportunity come through and present itself to you that is starting to embolden you in a whole different way? And then the other person that not taking it well is starting to trigger all of your insecurities. Emotional insecurities are running rampant in this energy with Pluto back in your 12th, but also Mars going through your 6th. Mars in Cancer. The emotional insecurities, the things that we need to heal. And for some of you, the things that can be bubbling up to the surface that we need to heal can have to do with family, home life, but pasts and the secrets. Some of you, the secrets are starting to boil into something bigger, something that needs to be talked through, something that needs to be addressed, something from the past. Here's that Tower card. A couple of you guys have had that. Some of you have to have a break. You either have to break from this commitment, this relationship, this pattern, or you have to break from the old wound. For some of you, it is all internal. For some of you, it is a mix of internal and external, but there is a tower moment that is brewing. Might not happen in the eclipse. Might actually happen throughout the next 2 months. More so the next 6. Now, why do I say that? Mars and Pluto are going to have 3 oppositions, 3 of them. One is going to be Capricorn and Cancer, but the other 2 are going to be Mars in your seventh house of relationships opposing Pluto in your first. The things that we hold back, the secrets that are boiling below the surface, they're going to make their way to the top. They're going to become surface level things. And they're going to be something that we end up having to make very big decisions to deal with, to heal, or to go away from, to move away from. Now, for some of you, this Two of Wands, this is opportunity. We have the potential of a career opportunity. And in the most mundane sense, this is a new moon in your ninth house, which is a travel house. You can be traveling and suddenly have a career opportunity. Some of you might be traveling for work in the mundane sense. But some of you are also looking at the possibilities of the way you see the future. And that means we have to make certain decisions of the path that we go down. Now, I'm going to stick to this too for just a second. The thing about the Two of Coins is this is the moon. This is the scales. This particular card in this particular deck very much mimics a new moon in Libra. There are decisions that must be made. And for many of you to make them, again, we have to let go of the old wounds. We have to let go of the secrets that have been holding us back so we can achieve a new form of personal power. And that's going to be when Pluto comes back into your first. And that doesn't start until November 19th is when Pluto is going to be back into Aquarius. And by then, there's going to be something very, very new that starts to come through with you, for you, around you. A whole different level of strength with this Ace of Coins. And many of you are going to be pushed to achieve something. Whatever we're trying to achieve needs to be something that is reciprocal whenever it comes to partnerships and relationships. Mars is retrograde starting in your seventh house of relationships is going to really make you see, look, and review the reciprocal nature of the partnerships and whether they're going to last or not. The romantic relationships, the business partnerships, whatever it is. Something is going to start to come together, come through a potential, a possibility that's going to be coming through. But the groundwork of that potential is laying out after this eclipse. It's coming through throughout the rest of October, going into November. But the dynamic shifts of what comes through in November will speak volumes for many people. And for many of you, there's still something that we haven't quite dealt with that is brewing to the surface. And once you allow this energy to finally come to the surface, the way that you move forward from here, the part of the chessboard that you are on from here, is going to be much more emboldened, much more powerful, and much more capable of growth and change, of transformation, moving forward, a voice of something very, very different moving forward. Okay. Moving along. All right, sweeties. We're going to get to Pisces and Pisces risings. Okay, my loves. Oh, this is a new moon eclipse in your eighth house, which is a financial house. Shared assets, shared resources, money, 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 money. There's something changing, happening, going on in the financial realms. There's an adjustment in this area. Not only are we going to be seeing an adjustment in our finances, but over the course of the next week and a half, we will also have something that starts to shift in the home life, within the family, and even potentially with our children. Why do I say that? Over the next 2 weeks, Jupiter, one of your chart rulers, is going to go retrograde in your fourth house of home life, and family. Mars is in your fifth house of children. I bring up Mars because the ruler of this eclipse is Venus, but Venus is in Mars's sign. And there could be things that are going on travel wise. There could be things that are going on with institutions. There can be things that are going on in the learning aspect. So we can be dealing with schools that are going to be impacting the kids. And there can be changes that have to come from that. You can also have something that is directly impacting the career aspect that is making you question whether you've been doing the right thing for family, whether you have made the right decisions for your family, given Jupiter's energy in the fourth house. Financial changes don't have to be a bad thing. There can be a lot more capability coming through, a whole different level of business opportunity that is going to come through, that is going to potentially overwhelm you at some point, whether that's the start or whether that is later. But there is definitely a new energy that is coming through based off the decisions that are affecting this eclipse. Now I'm going to go with this card. I've got a couple people already have this card. This Two of Coins for this particular deck, look, it is a depiction of literally a new moon in Libra. You have the sun, you have the moon right here in the crescent, but in the second one, you have the scales. Libra is the scales. There is a balancing act. There is a balancing measure. There is a give and take. There is an up, down. There's something that is shifting and adjusting right here that's coming through. That's going to potentially impact the home life, the family, or financial element, the financial gains. Now, for some people, you're going to be spending money to make money. You got to spend money to travel, and that travel is going to result in something extra. There is an adjustment in this area. There will be overwhelm in the weeks ahead for a lot of you with the Seven of Cups. We've got too many plates that we're trying to adjust. There can be overwhelm in the household with Jupiter about to turn retrograde in the fourth. There is an overwhelm that is starting to seep in. And it doesn't matter which decision you make, that overwhelm is going to happen either. Either way. There's a lot of work to be done. We have the Three of Coins. We have the Six of Cups. Three of Coins is work. A lot of hard work, physical work that needs to be done. But then there's also this benefit of the hard work paying off so quickly in a joyful way. It's like, I made extra money. I got a bonus. Let's go to the fair. Let's go to the zoo. Let's go do this one extra thing that we wouldn't normally do because we're capable of doing it and it makes us feel happy. With the Ace of Wands and the Strength card, there is a new direction. There's new path. There's new opportunities. With you guys, it's very, very unclear. I see a lot of new coming through, but the decisions of the new have not completely been made. So that takes me to the next part. November and December. There's a hot mess energy that's going to come. And it tells me that the decisions of right now are going to impact that hot mess energy later. And the hot mess is going to be, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde in Sag. Mercury is in its detriment in Sag. Jupiter is going to be retrograde in Gemini. Well, Jupiter's in its detriment in Gemini. And then while this is all happening in opposition of one another, Mars is going to go retrograde in your sixth house of health, how you care for yourself, how you care for other people. It's also a work house. And there can be a lot of overwhelm coming through, regardless of the decision that you make right now, that starts to impact family and career simultaneously. And it can be based off of health or major frustrations in the workplace that starts to create this energetic effect of overwhelm. There is overwhelm coming. And regardless of the decision you make right now, some of the decisions aren't going to be yours to make. It's going to be based off of another person and the other side. And it's going to enforce that direction, that upheaval, that confusion, that messy energy that's going to come, especially in November and December. And I feel like a lot of you are laying a groundwork right now that's going to really test how much you have been leaning into the lessons of Saturn in your first. For some of you, you're going to be fine. Test me all day long. I don't care. I've been doing the right thing. Daddy Saturn's had my back and I understand this karma. But others of you, you don't want to take any responsibility or any accountability for anything. And there will be things that come up later that create tension and frustration and imbalance that you have not been anticipating. That's going to put a lot of weight on your shoulders. And the groundwork for that is literally getting laid over the next month. You will make some of the decisions, especially financial decisions. But a lot of the other decisions are not being made by you, they're being made by other people. Okay. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. You guys know that whenever I do the closings of these episodes, I don't do anything super heavy. So I will talk to everybody very, very soon. If you want to book a reading with me, of course, my contact information is listed in the description of every single episode. Talk soon, guys. Subscribe.